loss, we might not see him again for the rest of the tournament.
Exactly. It's potentially now or never, although, again, very good pairing here for Joe.
And though Jim Davis and Joe Lossett did become pretty good friends at the Players' Championship, as we saw, you have to imagine Jim Davis is going, come on, Burn.
Oh, for sure.
Come on, baby, get me one here. As Wooded Foothill's going to start things off here for round number 7.
This is exciting for Joe. Maybe it's a Goblin Guide. Maybe it's a Wild Nakatl, but your opponent sacrificing Wooded Foothills on turn 1 is generally good news.
Basic Mountain is what Magnotti's going to search up. We'll see what red spell it's going to be to start things off here. Could be a Goblin Guide, as you mentioned. Monastery Swiftspear is an option. And there is the guide. Joe will take a long look at his hand, forcible among the options there. Into the red zone we're going to go. Take a look at the top card. Misty Rainforest will be added to Lossett's hand from the Goblin Guide trigger. Lossett goes down to 18.
I mean, Darren's got the draw. Let's see. Come on. He's got the Iona in hand. I guess that could be good or bad. He gets to discard the hand size.
Let's trust up was careful study, I think.
Come on, Joe.
It's supposed to be unbiased when you're in the box.
At least,
You're not supposed to root for someone. You're supposed to just call it evenly.
At least let Darren get a third turn. Then he has a shot of winning the game.
Well, he will get a third turn.
Well, yes, with the ability to cast a spell in his deck. Sorry, I should have clarified.
Clarification is key in this business, so that's good. Here's a basic island. If you want to complain about something, how about the whiteboard land? We've been complaining about it for years, but I'm not going to stop until he changes. Here's Careful Study. 2 cards coming here for Joe. Reanimate among them. Looks like Iona's heading to the graveyard. It's a pretty good place for that.
Pretty good start here for Joe.
So 2 cards discard, Iona among them. And Lossett's going to pass the turn back over to Magnotti. It's going to have to be a pretty good turn for Darren. Mountain going to come into play. Fire Blast in hand. Here comes Goblin Guide. Reanimate the top card. Oh, we're going spiking, aren't we? Oh, yes. A little bit lower. Down to 12. Suspend a Rift Bolt. And pass the turn. Lossett's going to draw a copy of Reanimate. There's a Bloodstained Mire. Down to 11 he goes.
Really good run here for Darren. Getting Joe down to 11 here.
That's pretty good for turn 2.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
Rift Bolt about to come off. Fire Blast in hand. I mean, this is potentially a turn 3 kill here that Darren had, but that's not going to matter.
Exhume. Powerful. What do you think Joe's going to name?
I like red here.
You like red? Okay. We'll get confirmation. We're going to get confirmation if red was named. And okay, we are being told now that red was the choice there from Lossett on Iona. So looks like a tough road ahead here for Magnotti.
Gonna play it out, I guess. They might see something.
Not something you would do.
Nope.
I am sure of that.
I would have conceded to the Careful Study.
Oh, that's where you leave. Okay.
And the reveal of Reanimate.
Sure.
I would not have survived through my Goblin Guide trigger.
I like how you pick your spots.
Right.
Very methodical. Player's going to take a look at Iona here very quickly. Yeah, it's a spell that can't be cast. So what happens there with the Suspended Rift Bolt is it just stays in suspend forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. Here's a Brainstorm. So Lossett will take a look at 3 cards. 2 cards will go back here momentarily. And an attack for 7. Magnotti's going to move down to 12. Bloodstained Mire and a passing the turn. To Darren's credit, he is still in the lead.
Yep. Gets to get Joe down to single digits here, which I like.
Yes. Trigger. Joe's going to sacrifice his Bloodstained Mire. Go down to 10. And get a land out. We'll see what the top card of his deck is here momentarily. It's a Reanimate. Now damage to be dealt, and Joe will go down to 8. There's an attack from Iona. Magnotti down to 5. Lossett with 2 Force Wills and 2 blue cards in hand.
Big top deck here for Darren.
Yeah. There's an attack. Exhume is the card revealed. Down to 6 goes Lossett. A draw, an attack. Let's head to game number 2, shall we? Joe Lossett going to win game number 1 here over Darren Magnotti. Reanimator up a game here over Burn as we're going to go over to Darren's sideboard. Tell me he's got some help in there.
Got a little bit of help. 2 copies of Smash the Smithereens, a Smelt, 3 Red Elemental Blast, 3 Relic of Progenitus, 3 Ensnaring Bridge, a Sulfuric Vortex, 2 copies of Searing Blood. So I like the Relic of Progenitus in this matchup, obviously some anti-graveyard action, the 3 copies of Ensnaring Bridge. Sometimes Joe will not have the luxury of reanimating Iona. He'll have to go find, whatever he happens to careful study. And in that scenario, Ensnaring Bridge can be good. He may want the extra Vortex here, depending on how much dead weight he has in the deck. Only 2 copies of Searing Blaze, so I think those cards will probably not make the cut.
Take a look at the other side of things here for Lossett. 4 copies of Abrupt Decay, 4 Thoughtseize, a Pithing Needle, a Massacre, a Coffin Purge, a Sphinx of the Steel Wind, Tropical Island, 2 copies of Bayou. So, Sphinx of the Steel Wind, your thoughts?
It's a fine reanimation target. Still not as good as Iona, but you have some mediocre stuff in here. The Tidespout Tyrant, the Ellisnorn's not very good, so it's an upgrade over some of the other bullets.
Do you like Thoughtseize in this matchup?
I don't mind it on the play, as Darren may have some anti-graveyard card that you really want to take, and on the balance, even if he doesn't have that sort of thing going on, if he's on a 1 Goblin Guide burn spell hand, Thoughtseize can be worth quite a bit. It's also another way to get something into the graveyard, and Joe is really, his priority is speed and consistency as much as possible, because his game plan is so much more powerful than Darren's. So I think on the balance, I would keep the Thoughtseizes in.
All right, well, we'll see how Joe opts to play it here. As both players will sideboard, and we'll get ready for game number 2 here in just a moment. But briefly, we will talk about the Winter Collection. Brand new sleeves, playmats, and dice bags available at Star City Games.
Yeah, the Wolf, the Rodent, and the Mammoth, and the Eternal Witness, all available on card sleeves, playmats, and dice bag. This is the 2015 Winter Collection, and you can order your stuff today at starcitygames.com/creature collection, or head over to our booth at any Open or Grand Prix we happen to be working.
Eternal Witness is really picking up in popularity now.
Seen quite a few Eternal Witness sleeves.
Yeah. People like our little play on words, our puns on our Creature Collection. They're available, as Patrick did mention, starcitygames.com/creature collection for more information about that. As game number 2 here for Joe Lossett. It's a pretty important one. I do think he's in a great matchup here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win this game or game number 3. I think Burns a really good matchup for Reanimator, push him on to 5-2. But for Joe, it's pretty important that he gets out of the day with 3 wins in a row, get himself into day number 2.
If Darren's on the play with a Relic, he's, he may be north of 50% in the matchup. But the problem is that he's got to win game 3 on the draw.
Yep.
And that's really hard, even if Darren has a Relic. I rarely advocate aggressive mulligans in Burn, but this is the kind of matchup where, 1, you really need Relic to have any sort of game plan. And 2, because Joe doesn't have removal in his deck, if you draw any of your creatures, it's worth numerous cards. He's not going to just untap and kill your guy. Your Goblin Guide, your Eidolon, your Monastery, Swift Spear, whatever. They're worth multiple burn spells in this matchup. So I think Darren should be throwing away seemingly good hands if they don't contain Relic of Progenitus.
I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, it gives him the best chance to win, I think.
His hand has to either kill on turn 3 or have Relic.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything else is keepable.
And his last hand potentially could kill on turn 3.
I think he had Fire Blast, another attack from his guide coming. Some of that was facilitated by Joe's fetch lands and such, but that looked like a hand that could potentially be turn 3. Not an easy thing.
We don't see that a lot, yeah.
Not an easy thing for Burn to do. I've done it very few times in my life.
It's got to feel good every time you do, though.
Yeah, it does.
Let him know who the boss is.
But less than once per tournament, I would say.
That's too bad.
That I play the deck.
Sure.
That makes you really savor the ones where you get it.
Both players are going to take a look at their opening. Magnotti's going to mulligan pretty quickly here, so he didn't like what he saw. So with a careful study among other options here. Reanimate 2. Looks like he may have a copy of Abrupt Decay that he boarded in. And he looks content with what he has, so Magnotti going to take a look at his 6 cards. You have to imagine he's not too thrilled with the matchup.
No. I don't know if this is the worst matchup for Burn, but it's pretty close. The Ley Lines matchup is really rough.
It's always nice that Legacy just has matchups that are like, 95-5.
Yeah.
Whatever. Oh, Joe with the gemstone caverns.
It's
luck counter.
A luck counter.
Yes. There's a bloodstained mire. This was the big innovation, for Lossett to this deck, is able to play 4 copies of Gemstone Cavern and steal the initiative back.
You got a lot of play on turn 1 on the draw. Brainstorm and Tomb.
And this is the kind of card that makes the start with Relic not even matter. And also you can just do something like Careful Study plus Reanimate in the same turn. We might see that here in a second, as Magnotti just simply suspends a Rift Bolt and passes the turn back. Joe going to start with a Careful Study. He can spike a turn 1 here if things break his way. I think somebody found a Griselbrand. Oh,
yep.
He did.
And a Force of Will, in case that Darren's got something like Surgical Extraction, that doesn't even matter.
That's pretty neat. Gemstone Cavern on full display here.
Yep. These kind of hands, it's just another Lotus Petal. I guess Crowbox is a closer analog, but it does let you play something on the end of your opponent's first turn, and with Entomb in your deck, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
It allows for an Entomb into Exhume opening, which not even Lotus Petal permits.
Joe on the hunt for his swamp. There it is. And with the Reanimate, he can bring Griselbrand back. That's a mouthful right away.
You can see Darren with Relic in hand, and it's not even going to matter.
I know many, when they took a look at Joe's deck list of the Players' Championship and wondering why he's playing Gemstone Cavern, well, now you see. It's very clear what this card's doing in his deck. Rift Bolt's going to come off suspend, and Lossett's going to go down to 8. He's got a 7/7 lifelinker in play. Against Burn, that's pretty much all you need.
I mean, look at Darren's hand. He's got a second land and a Relic. If Joe does not have that kind of jump in mana, the Relic is now something he has to worry about.
Yep.
Instead, he can just win with beatdowns.
Here's a Lava Spike going upstairs. Lossette's down to 5. The follow-up is a Relic. It's a little late to the party, however. You see Lossette's hand of Abrupt Decay, Forceful, and a blue card. He'll take a draw step. But for Joe, that's all he needs to do, is attack.
Don't activate.
Nope.
Just 7/7 flying lifelink, good enough to beat Burn.
And pass that turn back over to Magnotti. Magnotti will activate his Relic. Joe will have to remove a card. So he'll send the Polluted Delta packing. Wooded Foothills will be sacrificed here by Darren. He'll search up a mountain. We'll see what his play is going to be here in just a moment.
Another nice thing here is the mana fixing that the Gemstone Cavern provides as well. He's able to search for a basic here and still be able to cast the Abrupt Decay in his hand.
Oh, for sure.
After casting a blue spell, you know? It's doing a lot of work.
You pay costs in a lot of different ways with that card. There are definitely some positives and some negatives to it, and this is one of the games where it's basically all positive. Relic can be sacrificed, so Magnotti's going to get the opportunity to draw a card. Bloodstained Mire. This is a Goblin Guide. That's an attack. Take a look at the top card. Abrupt Decay. Turn that down. Lossett will take 2. No interest in casting a spell.
I really like not doing anything about that Goblin Guide there. Joe wants to make sure he can answer just a bunch of Ensnaring Bridges.
Yep.
And the Goblin Guide damage doesn't matter at this point, as he's gaining so much life.
Doesn't lose any nonsense. Goblin Guide does not fall under the category of nonsense.
Yeah.
Magnotti will draw. Rift Bolt going upstairs. Let's head down to 14. There is a mountain. Here is the attack. Take a look. It's a Brainstorm. Magnotti will pass. Joe will quickly untap, draw that Brainstorm, get into the red zone, and that is going to do it. Joe Lossett's going to win this match here over Darren Magnotti. 2-0. Reanimator dispatches Burn as Joe flashes a smile to the camera. He's still in this thing at 5-2.
Probably his easiest match of the day.
I would imagine.
It's a matchup that's really, really bad for Burn. And if the Reanimator deck stumbles